Welcome to Rise from Lausanne, Switzerland, where 7% of all COVID cases in the last year have happened in the last 3 days, and where the current testing rate proves that more than 10% of those tested prove positive. I am Demian Hodari, Professor of Strategic Management at EHL Lausanne.
And from lovely London, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you're watching in the world, but especially if you are Canadians, a very happy Thanksgiving. Welcome back to my flat. I'm Anita Mendiratta, thrilled to be alongside Demian Hodari for Rise. We are well into the groove of season 2. We're now on episode 5 in our live programs that is running today. And clearly everyone is well into the next normal of what has been quite a strange and ever-adjusting year. We said at the beginning of Rise, it was all about uncertainty, and that continues. We have, as Demian has said, increasing changes to the number of cases that are happening around the world of COVID-19, some going up dramatically, some going up just a touch, very few are dropping. We've got continuous changes as a result to daily routines as restrictions start to be increased in mobility, in socializing, in people being able to go to work. Equally, we have changes in terms of borders and how people are able to move in and out of countries. As much as border restrictions are easing, we see that lists of countries around the world that are blocking other travelers coming in is also increasing, and more people being subjected to quarantines. We're also seeing very much that the next normal is going to be one that's going to be right through the end of this year. So for that reason, we have a very special program for you today. Demian, I am particularly excited about today. Why don't you tell us more about it?
Sure. Well, as you can see from the title, Live Well and Prosper. You might think this show is focused on Star Trek, and sadly, you'd be mistaken. We're looking at the wellness industry and the well-being of people, not just of our audience, but of everybody around the world. And for this, we've got nobody better than SUSIE ELLIS to be with us on this show. SUSIE's an absolute expert in the area, and she's transformed this industry and worked with the best people in the industry. And just really excited to be able to have a conversation with her and a little bit about how the wellness industry is changing, but also about how everybody's well-being needs to change in these difficult times. And before we bring her on, obviously, we've got some other things to do. The first of which is a poll with our audience. And this is the following poll. And please don't forget, everybody, to send us your questions, both for SUSIE and for Anita and myself, using the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. And over to you with poll number 1. All right, Anita, no change. And, right there, that less and more concerned, but the extremes are not quite as prevalent, right? Much more concerned or stopped caring is not really a big number for us. So I guess people are sort of there where they've been and a little bit up or down. Does that resonate with you, or were you expecting more extremes?
It's interesting. I'm not surprised by how spread out it is, because I think the point is that so many people are living with different stages of this, and emotionally they're adjusting to different stages of it. So I think this is really interesting, but especially the more concerned, 1 in 4 people are more concerned than the original peak. That is concerning. Yeah,
but 1 in 4 are also less concerned. So I think it's a little bit about that people are reacting differently to this. And personally, I think one day I'm more concerned and one day I'm less concerned. So I think if we ask this tomorrow, we might just get different results. I just don't know if it's that stable for people these highly uncertain times.
That's a really good point. Stunning. Excellent. So these concerning, unconcerning, not sure about concerned times, where in the world are we now? That's what we want to take a look at. And so, as always, we're doing our check-in of where in the world are we? As of October 12th, we're going to take a little look. And this links directly, interestingly, to what we just polled with all of you. We took a look at Skyscanner, which again is the entity which is brilliant in terms of searches, airline searches, hotel searches, where do people think they want to go? And what's quite scary is that when they check the sentiment, the global sentiment, what I thought was interesting was it went up. From March until June, people feeling positive, and then boom, the green line started to drop. This I found interesting, because if you look at where we are on the 21st of September, at the far right, that is very much at relatively the same level of when we started going into the peak period and through it. That's quite concerning. So from the point of view of getting better, people have gone back down to where they were in terms of April feeling. I thought that was very interesting. Staying the same is somewhat staying the same, but getting any worse, it went right down and now it's going back up again. So again, exactly as you said, Demian, people are getting very, very uncertain about this, but there's more concern than there is optimism. That's quite sad. What did you
don't
find?
you think that's a little bit of just how long this whole pandemic is lasting with no end in sight? We might have thought early on in April, by October, things will be fine, and now they're not. And we have really no idea when this is going to end. And I think that's really settling into a lot of people, right? Just the not knowing how long it's going to last. I think we know how bad it can get, the health crisis, but we just don't know when it's going to end. And so
that's a great point. Over to you.
Yeah. So how bad can things get? Well, they can get worse. So according to the American Hotel and Lodging Association, 67% of hotels that exist today will not make it another 6 months without federal assistance, basically telling the government, if you don't help bail us out, if you don't provide funds, if you don't make it easier for us to operate, if you don't help us pay our employees, if you don't help get people traveling again, this industry is going to collapse. 2/3 of hotels will not make it another 6 months. So when we celebrate our 1-year anniversary on this show in April, they're telling us that 67% of the hotels that existed when this pandemic began will be out of business. That's an incredible number. And similarly, 74% of hotels are going to be forced to lay off more workers. So the number one thing we want to avoid here is unemployment. And talking again, 3/4 of hotels are going to have to lay off more employees in addition to the ones that they've already done. So things not looking any better for hotels 6 months in.
Indeed. But I think what's important about that, and it links to my next slide as well, is the fact that governments are recognizing this, and they're recognizing furlough schemes, aid packages need to be extended or added on to, because we can't have those floods of people losing their jobs. That's going to have a huge impact on physical health, on mental health, on financial health. So as we see on the aviation side, we all know that it plummeted. We're only anticipating momentum of 2019 travel to come back by 2022, 2023. But why did I show this? I wanted to highlight what's circled there. And I thought this is really important. Since March, there have been 39,000 plus repatriation flights that have taken place. Why? Because over 5 million people were stuck somewhere else in the world when the world started to shut its borders and shut its skies. This is really important. And I mainly raise this, not just because I know you love aviation, Demian, but because of the fact that when we look up to the skies, there is an element of people want to travel, people want to have fun, people want to go on holiday, but people need aviation to get back home. And IATA launched an initiative which was called, ultimately, Love is Essential. And they asked people through social media to send photographs of themselves and people they love that they've been separated from. Separated from, if you think about it, for 8 months this year. And saying that because of regulations, people are being kept apart, not for traveling reasons, but for reasons simply because they can't travel home. So meaning not tourism reasons. I thought this was really important because all of this feeds into everyone needs to take care of themselves this year. No one is escaping something that's quite scary, and we need to make sure that well-being remains at the core of how we work through every single day. I thought this was interesting, but heroic as well. 5.5 million people separated from their loved ones.
Such a number, I can't even grasp sometimes how big these numbers are. And this is another big number. This is $25 billion of market capitalization wiped off from the 5 biggest hotel companies in the United States. It's just another indicator of how pessimistic investors are about the future of the hotel industry, that stock prices have just been plummeting. And these once upon a time, very valuable companies that were dominating the scene, even they are subject to extreme losses. So it's not just the small independent restaurants and small independent hotels that are suffering, and clearly they are, but the large companies that employ hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people and have 5 to 10,000 hotels around the world, they're also under dire straits. And this goes back to that previous slide of the AHLA, basically saying even the biggest companies need government support right now. And, it's politics, and we all know it's tough times in the States with the political situation, but this is not a time when companies alone can manage to work their way out of these problems. And this private-public partnerships and relationships really need to kick in once again, like they did back in the spring, in order to help these companies, and not just our industry, but lots of other industries work their way through these difficult times.
Brilliant. And we move on. 30-second challenge, sir.
All right, I'll give you one. I'm going to change up the one that I had. This is a two-part one. So real quick, we asked before if people are more confident or more concerned about the situation as they were 6 months ago. How do you feel?
I'm cautiously optimistic. If I can add in another box that can be ticked.
No, you can't do that.
I'm concerned about overconfidence. I'm confident about concerns being taken seriously. So I'm not answering you. No. I'm trying to give you trouble. That's my job. I'm not able to answer the question in a way that you're going to be happy with. I am concerned about the second wave. I always have been. I'm concerned about flippancy. I'm concerned about boredom. I'm concerned about people who are fearful and forgetful. I'm confident we will get through this. And exactly linked to your last slide, which I think is important, all of this is happening where the world is a victim of circumstance. No hotel did anything wrong. It's happened. The cruises didn't do anything wrong. It's happened. Airlines haven't. It's happened. And I think why I think we'll get through this stronger, I'm confident because compassion is kicking into strategy. And people are becoming much more sensitive to the fact that we don't survive unless we do it together. And I think that's a really good opportunity for not building back better, building forward better. That to me is the opportunity.
You need to run for political office, really. The way you got away with that, I don't know. All right, your turn.
My turn. So as much as we know that you're a runner and you've been very good in keeping the running up, I'm not sure if you're running front or running two. I won't ask that, way too personal. But this year has been unique because it's thrown at you, all of us, really interesting challenges. Is there a new approach to wellness routine that you have actually built in? No, your eyes are widening. I promise I will not let everyone know that you've started putting on your yellow Speedo to go for lavender aromatherapy massages on a weekly basis. I won't put that image in people's minds. But have you who is admittedly I've seen it through Rise, you become much more comfortable talking about checking in. Have you found a change in your own routine to keep yourself buoyant and positive?
I think I am doing everything I was doing before. I'm just doing it with other people actually more. So I used to run 4 or 5 times a week, almost always alone. Now I might be running one time less a week or twice a week, but I'm always running with other people, even if sometimes someone's slower or faster. Usually I'm the slower one because I need that socialization. I think that started during lockdown, finding that run was a chance to be with someone else. I played more golf in the last 2 months than I have in the last 30 years combined, because I find it a way to completely unplug for 4 hours. And I need that more because I'm on the screen so much and I'm teaching high flex models and all this. So that's been good. So I think I've just found ways to unplug a bit more and be a little bit more social maybe.
I love that even the grouch can come out of his garbage can more often in recognizing the need for other people. I'm very, very pleased you clarified that you're running more with other people and you're not massaging more with other people. Otherwise, we're going to have to really put those yellow Speedos in production.
Yeah, good try.
Hey, my favorite part of the program, aside from every other part of the program.
Sure. Yeah. I think you change what's your favorite part every episode. Okay, we've got some headlines for you. I had a tough time this week because I had so many things I wanted to share. From Skift, hotels partnering with co-working companies signal a pandemic trend could be here to stay. I chose this for a couple of reasons. First is, again, I like these examples of firms finding new ways to compete in this environment, new ways to generate business, using this crisis as a way to rethink their business models. You've got co-working companies under stress from less people going to the office or needing less working spaces, and hotels clearly with lots of empty rooms that they're trying to find new ways to occupy. And so these two companies, there are two kinds of businesses finding ways to work together. And I also like it because on our next episode in 2 weeks, which we'll talk about more later, we're going to be looking more at the hospitality industry and the way we are mixing different businesses together. And third reason, selfishly, because my brother is the co-working company mentioned in this article. But I thought it was a great example. So a little bit of nepotism, but it's a great article for people to read and also to tune in 2 weeks to hear more about this.
Brilliant.
And a second one, I thought you'd like this one. When the classroom comes with room service and poolside cabanas, another example of hotel companies trying to find new ways to generate business and stay relevant. So you've got your kid, he's in online only school, and you're tired of being at home all the time. You wish you could get away for a few days. There are some resort hotels and theme park hotels that are created space for education. So your child can sit there, great Wi-Fi, desk, private space, sanitary. They can follow their classes. And when it's recess time or when school ends at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or whatnot, 5 minutes later, you're swimming in the pool or riding the slides or at the amusement area. So it's this, again, this finding that there's this market of families with small kids. What can we do for them during this time? And combining school with playtime in these hotels, just a really just nice example of what our industry can do when pressured to do so.
I love that, especially because for kiddies, for little people, to have the animation involved as well keeps the spirits up and keeps them buoyant. So I would be very grateful if you can actually show us the costume you're going to be wearing for your classes.
Well, that's actually me. That's how I teach.
You're a fox, Demian. Okay, it's interesting we have a theme here around adaptability, because I found this. Interestingly, I discovered this not because of the publication, but because a CNN client of mine was actually doing this in a hotel in Singapore. And he had to mute himself from the meeting because he was sitting in a lobby. Now, we know that this year, a very significant W acronym has taken over. It's not WTF, it's WFH, work from home. Hotels came up with the idea, one particularly in Singapore, being the Fukana Riverside Hotel. Absolutely brilliant. They started a work from hotel concept where they offered local residents the chance to work from the hotel lobbies. You pay now 28 Singapore dollars. You get alongside a $15 dining credit. And from 9 in the morning until 10:30 at night, you can basically go and work in the hotel lobbies. Absolutely brilliant. Gets the hotel ecosystem going, reactivated to a degree. Takes pressure off from people who are trying to work from home with little kiddies or other people around. And it's a change of scenery. I thought this was really, really smart and shows that people need to work together to address the psychological and practical operating needs of other people, not just what their business needs are. I loved this idea.
I just want to point out, in case people don't remember, we don't see each other's headlines before right this moment. So the fact that we both keyed in on this working from the hotel, I think it's just demonstrating that it's in the news a lot because this is happening more. And it's probably something people should be paying attention to even more than they might have been before.
I was going to say, please don't say we're starting to think alike, because that would just scare me. So we move to my next headline, which I was so excited about. So excited about. As we know, my Secretary General keeps saying currency, trust is the new currency. Traveler mobility, travel comfort is all about confidence. And one of the biggest optical areas is aviation. Even if it's not practically, optically, it's aviation. IATA and UNWTO signed an agreement last week to specifically focus on restoring consumer confidence in travel. I thought this was brilliant. Not only is it because, again, it's looking at in the entire traveler experience opportunity and chain. Where's the concern? It's not pricing. It's not actually issues about going to places. It's getting to places that's the concern. So they're working together to say, let's fix this, Because exactly as you said, Demian, people need to start working together, because your link in the chain might be blocked because of my link in the chain. So if we work together to unblock that link, the whole chain flows through, and the travel, tourism, and hospitality industry, an entire sector, can start regenerating jobs, regenerating income, regenerating confidence to keep building on that momentum. I thought this was really important. And now that I've completely beaten you down into aviation, I thought I'd sneak this one in. I wanted to focus on a video this week that is really just to say aviation is not just about leisure. It's not just about travel and tourism. It's about being the essential artery of globalization. And right now, that essential artery is about healthcare. Anita put this out, and I thought this was beautiful because it does remind on why we need to see those big birds in the sky, especially right now. Enjoy. Short, it's sweet, but I thought it was really important because we keep talking about COVID-19, so much dependent on the vaccine, but how does it get to us? And I thought that was really, really well done. And so full credit to Anita for reminding us how much we need aviation. And we move on.
We've got our second poll right before we bring on Susie. So again, a wellness theme for people to answer, please. And the winner is exercise. Good choice. And look at spa. So we can talk about that with Susie. Obviously, it's been tough to probably go to the spa during this time. It's nice to see that some people appreciate Rise, and you can sort of see there's a little bit of everything, which means everybody's unique and finding their own ways through this. But really, exercise being number one makes a lot of sense to me.
I'm very touched by Rise. That's really sweet. But it's interesting because we've talked about this, how even for each of us, the momentum, the spirit, the productivity, the connectivity of Rise has been, it's part of that social dynamic. It's really important. I love the nature element. My squirrels will be very happy, but I can't wait for you to introduce our guest because I'm very excited about this.
So it's my great pleasure to ask Susie to join us now. I've known Susie now for probably about a dozen years. She has come to EHL numerous times, both for our International Advisory Board, also to speak in my classes. We've run some projects together, both at the Global Wellness Summit as well as at EHL, to try to encourage younger people to learn about this industry and possibly to go to work in it and understand its impact on different parts of the industry. So Susie, thanks so much for agreeing to come and join us. I know it's early for you.
Thank you for having me. It's 8:30, that's not 8 a.m. on the East Coast of the US. Not so bad. Nice meeting you, Anita, and delighted to hear your banter back and forth. It's really entertaining in addition to learning things.
It's part of my wellness.
Yes. Susie, I don't know if you were able to see that poll, have you found that as well, that people are shifting a lot of their wellness endeavors towards exercise just because of the current situation, and obviously spa visits must be drastically down?
Yes, the way I would have answered the poll is with nature and exercise, and I'm also running more now. I used to be a marathon runner and out in nature, and I'm in Miami, so obviously near the water is nice, but I'm not surprised to see exercise high on the list, and nature being high on the list, being with other people. I think that's what we're seeing as well. But wellness has never been more important. They're saying the Great Reset book written by Terry Malloret and Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum talked about the 3 areas that are going to thrive because of COVID, and that is technology, health, and wellness. And we are seeing a lot of interest, and it's almost become the fact, and I think it is with hotels also, that many companies are becoming wellness oriented. They have to, and it's beyond just the walls of a hotel, spa, or fitness center. It's the entire hotel, and even airlines, the cruise ships. We all have to be aware of our own and other people's health and wellness now.
Well, Susie, I have a question for you, but before I ask the question, I'm going to invite everyone, because we get very greedy in asking our amazing executives and residents questions. Please, anyone, if you have questions, do send them through. We will make sure that we hand you over to Susie so she can share her wisdom and her insight. But Susie, I'm curious. One thing that concerned me at the very beginning of COVID-19 was not the physical health crisis, but the mental health crisis. And the fact that the fear of this invisible this curse that's hit everyone around the world agnostically is going to have a really damaging impact. And I think the long tail of the legacy of COVID-19. People are talking more about it. And Saturday being World Mental Health Day around the world, people are much more open to that. And as a result, it's going to benefit the industry. How do you feel the wellness industry can really step up and honor this awakening, dare I say, in a way that can become part of the industry without it being opportunistic?
Well, you're absolutely right that mental health has become much more important. And that is actually positive, because there's been a stigma in many parts of the world. So now more people are talking about it. But one wellness summit once a year. And at that point, we announce our research for the year. We spend an entire year with the Global Wellness Institute on a research project. And it just so happened, and it was a couple of years ago that we decided it was this year that we were going to do this. This was before COVID. But our research this year is on mental wellness and defining that. And just the fact that there's now more discussion, not just about mental illness or mental health, but mental wellness, I think is a big contribution, because what it means is that people can do things like we were talking about, the connection with others, staying connected, meditation, mindfulness, getting enough sleep. There are a lot of the exercise. There's a lot of things people can do for their own mental wellness. And that is a big positive. So now we helping themselves and each other in those arenas. So mental wellness, honestly, I don't think there's going to be an opportunistic sort of push. It's just too important. People are recognizing it's important. And most of the things are not really that very, very expensive. I mean, exercise, you can go out and walk, being in nature, connecting with other people, eating healthfully, the healthy kinds of things that people can do for mental health is not going to be a big boom for any particular company, although there are technology companies where interestingly seeing a lot of investment into mental wellness technology, which will be interesting to see how that goes.
Do you think, Susie, that people have used this crisis as a way to reevaluate their own approach to wellness and take more steps towards it, including just more walks in nature, or do you think people are bogged down in the whole negative aspect and the health aspect of this and aren't able to make inroads into improved wellness?
Well, I think that is the one silver lining of a second wave, because I think it has taken a little more time. Immediately, we were all a little bit, startled and, overwhelmed. But I think, honestly, that yes, people have started, but in a way, because there's another second wave and this is not over yet, it's almost like the universe telling us, okay, let's really get serious now about your own personal health and the health of the planet. Because even, the health of the planet has benefited from less aviation and all of the things people are doing. but how easy it would be for all of us to go right back to the way things were right now. A little longer with this, I think we're going to be a little more committed to the wellness of the environment and wellness for all and ourselves, obviously.
True. I must say, Susie, I mean, I'm so enjoying, I was thrilled to know you were coming on, and I'm really grateful to Demian for bringing you on. And I love this because I just think this subject is so important. And if anything, this year has demonstrated it's okay to say you're not okay. And people's confidence in that. And I mean, Demian's been the biggest proponent of that in terms of he's prepared to admit he's not a happy child. He's never a happy child. He's not a happy child. But I have a question for you. I want to go on the spa side, because one thing that's always worried me about the spa industry, I'm a big fan. I commit a lot of my earnings towards the sector, but it's high touch. And it's extremely close contact, whether it's Demian getting a facial or me getting a massage, it's very close proximity. And when I had a massage recently, the place I went to stripped away a lot of the tactileness because of protocols. How does the industry find a way to still keep that close touch, close emotion at a time when we're supposed to keep away from each other and we can't even see smiles anymore? How do we work through that?
You know, I also last maybe 8 weeks or so, and I've been very impressed with the places that I've gone, the changes that they have made. You know, I wear a mask if, you know, and my therapist is wearing a mask. There's more ventilation in the room. Those, you know, there's the sanitation, of course, and so on. I think one thing that the spa industry knows is that touch is important. And so they, even though there is a wave of touchless going to the Carilion tomorrow to experience their 8 new technology non-touch spa therapies. So that'll be interesting. And there is certainly a you know, an innovative momentum to do that. But I really think that touch is here to stay, and we will figure it out. There's ways to do that. And already, as you were saying, you've gone to have massage. It will come back. It's in a way, I've heard some people are saying they'd rather go to a spa because they know it has a lot of cleanliness already. I mean, that's already been a very, very hygienic environment. And now with extra protocols, you know, we're seeing definitely people coming back. In fact, the place I go, the most, they have more requests for massage than for manicures, pedicures, facials, or anything else. It's massage that people want because we know what it does for a person and how healing it is to be touched.
It's a great point, because I think the medicinal value of massages, facials, etc., has now been very much exposed. That's a really good point. Demian, over to you.
Thank you. I want to touch on the real estate side. I mean, we've talked in the past and we've done projects on how much, not just hotels, but also residential areas are incorporating wellness into their future products, right, to attract a certain clientele that wants to make sure that where they're living provides them a lot of wellness and health possibilities beyond just the gym. Have you noticed an impact in the last 6 months of COVID on this? Are more people looking for those kind of places, and are those places redesigning themselves for the, you know, post-pandemic world?
Well, you know, we've been doing also, you know, webinars. As soon as the COVID happened, we're very much about connection. And so we realized that that would be the way to go. Getting together in person is not going to be as easy to do. And the wellness economy includes, actually, we define it from the Global Wellness Institute as wellness tourism. That has been majorly affected. Healthy eating and nutrition, the beauty arena, the spa economy, workplace wellness, thermal and mineral springs, wellness real estate. And the one sector that we have seen has become more robust, where the phones are literally ringing off the hook, is wellness real estate. places where they have created a place to live. And some hotels have done this too, where there's residences where you can live, where there's a focus on health and wellness. That is something that people immediately responded to. In fact, one example is Rancho La Puerta in Tecate, Mexico. It's a spa, destination spa that's been around for 80 years. They announced in June their residences at Rancho La Puerta. And 2 months later, they had sold half of them out of 95 residences. Amazing. But that's reality, because that's what people want. I want to live somewhere where there's healthy air, there's nature, I can get a massage, I can get healthy food. That is an area that I think it will be worth watching.
Yeah, I've got two sort of follow-up questions. One is on workplace workplace wellness, which you mentioned. We were seeing a lot of companies making more investments in this in the last couple of years, and I'm just wondering, with the recession that we're probably in, or is going to be following this economic crisis that's going to follow the health crisis, do you expect this? I mean, I just can't imagine that companies are going to be able to maintain the investment that they were making in this. Are you concerned that we're going to take a step back in this area?
It's going to go forward. They need to now invest more, because what's happening, and it is a financial thing, the more you invest, but you can be creative. It's not a matter of just throwing money at it. And it's not about it's about a culture of wellness in an establishment. And by investing more, they have healthier employees and less turnover. And that's what the numbers are starting to show. So there's only going to be more emphasis on wellness in the workplace.
But if I'm working at home and I'm not going to the office anymore, or maybe I go to the office once every 5 days instead of 5 days, is the company going to be able to influence my wellness at home? Or was it only at work that it was going to be able to work? I guess that's my second part of the concern.
They have to, and they are. And I'll give you an example of one area in which they immediately have recognized. At home, there's a little bit of a challenge of separating work from home. I mean, you can work all of the time. And so companies are making more of an effort to, for example, our company, we're just 10 people, but we are very careful that weekends we're not emailing each other. We are very careful about honoring different time zones, because people work in different time zones, so that people can get their sleep and so on. But absolutely, companies are definitely thinking about the home work situation and looking at ways to influence that in a positive way, because that makes a big difference to productivity.
Sure.
And just the enjoyment of working together.
Okay.
Speaking of together, shall we tap into our viewers, because they have some thoughts coming through according to our Wizards of Oz.
Okay, Sarah, got a good question for us?
Yes. Steve is wondering whether technology advances are enabling spa operators to reopen sooner than originally anticipated.
I would say the answer to that is yes. And it's, technology takes a little time to catch up. But I would say one example, and we're doing our Global Wellness Summit in person and remotely next month. We have a hybrid. And one thing we are introducing is a new far UV technology that can be used to put in place in an area where the entire area can be free of virus and such. Now that is very, very new. And so when those kinds of things become more available and people know more about them, it's going to make a huge difference to airlines and hotels and so on. But clearly in the spa area, looking at what can be done for hygienics, they say, and maybe you guys have talked about this, about hygiene theater. Have you talked about that?
Yes.
Hygiene theater. I like hygiene theater. I took my first flight this last week to see my sister in Texas, And I liked seeing the people on the plane doing things and cleaning and, all of the things that they were taking care of and the announcements about wearing the masks and so on. It gives me a feeling of, confidence. Now is that there's more of what can be done immediately with the things that the science and the doctors have suggested we do. And I think the technology will come with like UV, far UV, I should say, and other technologies that will help people feel comfortable and keep people safe.
Great answer. Sarah, another question?
Yes, Dimitri is wondering, wellness has previously been considered a bit of a luxury. Do you think that the growth of the wellness industry is making wellness more accessible?
That's a very good question, Sarah. And, I do believe that in the past, wellness has been conceived a little bit as a luxury, and certainly spa has a little bit of an elitist sense. But what has changed, and it already started before COVID, but now it's being accelerated, for the planet are the two key things going forward. And wellness for all, one example is Global Wellness Day. That is something that was started by Belgin Aksoy. It got started at one of our events, but she has taken it to a whole nother level. That is the second Saturday in June, where there are spa services, exercise experiences, entertainment, and so on. That is all for free for people who can just maybe get on the first rung of a wellness ladder. But wellness for all, and the COVID has made this so obvious, is that it's not okay just for me to care about my own health, because I am affected by everyone else's health that's around me. So we have to be very careful and care a lot about everyone's health. We want wellness for all. And the one thing I would say, this devastation that you devastating to so many industries right now. But there is an opportunity that can come out of this, is that if people did take more preventative measures for their own health, that we could lower healthcare costs, that we could have healthier societies and healthier people globally. It's going to be a little longer term. That's not going to happen in 6 months. But because we know from COVID that it's pre-existing conditions that are a problem. Those people who are healthier do better if they do get COVID. So it will be a huge opportunity for us to help each other and ourselves to stay healthy, to become healthier than we are now.
Great answer. Let's take another question, Sarah.
Yes, this is the last question we have time for. So Gary asks, with the workplace shifting to working from home instead of working from the office, how have wellness product offerings adapted to this?
Well, you mentioned, what was mentioned in the beginning of this is the whole idea of the work and hotel kind of coming together, and the work and wellness piece has come together too. We had one, we also do trend predictions in wellness, and one of them that we predicted in January was the wellness sabbatical, where a person will go away for a longer period of time. And this to me is a good opportunity for the hotel industry to attract people for longer. Come stay with us for 3 weeks. And while you're working, and yes, you'll be working, you can also do healthy kinds of things. You can incorporate, make some habit changes. I've also heard the term workcation. We talk about staycation, but workcation, I think, is also a good term. People recognizing you're working from home, you could work at a hotel, you could work at a resort. Of course, pricing, could be adjusted, which is great. But then those are opportunity times to also, work on your own health and wellness. So, so I think all of these things are being discussed, and I'm starting to see more and more of it. And I think I get kind of excited about those silver linings.
I know that they said that was the last question, but I do got to ask you one question on behalf of Anita, who was too afraid to ask herself, which is, in a life of wellness, is there still room for champagne?
That is a lot of wellness.
The answer is absolutely yes. And I think a lot about, and I've studied a lot about the difference between wellness and well-being. And well-being is a little bit more on the happiness side, but we recognize, because the research shows that being happy, having joy, having fun is part of being healthy. So the answer is yes, absolutely. There's room for champagne, there's room for a little chocolate, in moderation, but absolutely, it's not about living an austere lifestyle that, is just so unappealing to most people, including me.
And
Well, clearly
you
that,
said that, Susie, because if I have a life of well-being because of champagne, I will make Demian's life happy. If
There
I
you go.
don't, I will make your life miserable, Demian.
I was gonna say, given the role that champagne can play, you're probably the happiest person in the world, Anita. Susie, it's been great having you on. Thanks so much.
Thank
You were able to answer all different kinds of questions because you are so knowledgeable about the entire industry and wellness and well-being. So I really appreciate you taking the time for us, and thanks so much, and have a great day. Have a great day.
Thank you, Damian. Nice
Susie,
meeting
thank you so much for being with us. And I'm pleased to say and to announce, because I only found out 2 hours ago, I will see you on the G20 stage, which says a lot about your success as being a global voice in well-being and wellness. So I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Fantastic, Anita.
Take care,
Look forward
Susie.
to it.
Bye, Susie.
Bye-bye.
She almost did this.
We'll let you do
I
that.
almost got her to do the live well and prosper thing. So that was great. Sarah, are there any questions for Anita or myself, or?
Yes. So we've had a couple of comments come in about hotels offering workspace. So the question is, do you think that this is a trend that is here to stay?
I think it was a trend even before COVID. We were already seeing a little bit of it. And from the article that I suggest people read, you'll see that there's no going back, right? The staycation, the workcation, the fact that people are working less from home, the technology, we want more mobility, we're nomadic. It's all pointing in this direction. And that's why in 2 weeks, we're going to look more closely at how we mix hotels with work, with wellness, with residential, because to say, oh, that's the hotel industry, this is the work industry, this is the residential industry, that's becoming irrelevant because it's all combining. So absolutely here to stay.
I think it's an important point you mentioned, Demian, because people have already been doing it. It was usually the hotels that didn't want people just sitting in their lounges and in their lobbies ordering the occasional coffee. So it feels as if the hotel industry has actually made it work for them because people were wanting to come and work there anyway. So it's finding that right balance between, if we don't have people in the beds, how do we get more revenue and more business productivity out of the people who are in the lobbies anyway?
And
More
more life, right? An empty lobby is sad. A lobby full of people doing something is clearly more interesting. I did not think about this question. I guess I'm always concerned about so many things. I guess I'm concerned that it's just, again, we've talked a little bit about this before, this pandemic fatigue, but I'm starting to see it not just on people's personal level, but I'm seeing it from organizations a little bit that I talk to that are saying, we're tired of trying new things right now because we have an idea, but this would work in X, Y, and Z context. And that's the context we're in. But by the time we're able to roll this out, the whole context has changed and we have to rethink our strategy. So I'm seeing steps back from a little bit of the willingness to change and invest in change, because not just the uncertainty, but about the pandemic, but about the lifespan of it and the implications of it. So not just personal fatigue, but professional fatigue.
It's interesting. I completely hear your concern. And I think here, to your point, the fatigue and just people are done with this. They're over it and they want to move on. Reason why I'm confident, and it goes back to what Susie was saying, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier with the first poll, people are becoming much more comfortable admitting openly what they're fed up with. They're being more comfortable, you even saying right now. That is going to shift the needle in terms of how we're going to get through this and how people are going to be able to get unstuck from the fatigue. Because at the end of the day, we do know we're going to get through this. Our world is going to get through it. We have a choice on getting through it, weaker or stronger. But there are enough people out there that are drinking enough champagne that are going to grab the grouches by the shoulders and say, it's going to be okay. And I felt it when we were doing, interestingly, our Where in the World. We talk a lot about the challenge of this year, but we keep talking, and we need to keep talking. Airlines are in trouble, hotels are in trouble, countries are in trouble, governments are listening, travelers are listening, investors are listening, and they're working together. That's a re-engineering of our world that was needed. And Mother Nature just gave us a real smack at the side of the head, and we need to give her a massage right now. So I'm confident.
Okay. I mean, like usual, I think I'm right, but I hope you are. We've got next week, as you know, we do these alternate weeks. We've got a Rise in Practice episode showing next week. Anita, you want to talk a little bit about that?
I would, with greatest pleasure. We are going to be talking about selling yourself. And it's really about saying, as we go back into the world, we've all changed in what we've been doing, how we're thinking, and how we're thinking about our future. So how do we go back out there? And we have Jerry Noonan with us, who is from a fantastic international consulting firm that handles recruitment, leadership placement, getting people into new jobs. He's from Spencer Stewart. I'm sure many of you have heard that from around the world, and he is brilliant. He's got some really good insights on how do we go back out there? How do we interview? How do we reposition ourselves? And how do we think about, maybe I don't want to do this anymore? How do I reposition myself at a professional level and make the most out of it? So that'll come on next Monday. Please do join us. It is spectacular. Jerry is a dear in being very honest and being very professional in how he's sharing his own point of view. And we're thrilled he's with us. So we look forward to having you for Rise in Practice next Monday. Until then, we look forward to having you joining us online. We are always on the website, rise-weekly.com, anytime, anywhere, anyhow you want to see it. It's there for you, especially if you missed any of the last episodes. Demian and I are going to be back live on October 26th, and we get the whole family episode. I can't wait to hear stories about you from your brother, Demian, but it's going to be an important one as well in terms of the industry. Anyone have any questions, please do send them through during the week and the weeks ahead. As always, from my side, a big thanks to our Wizards of Oz, Jessica, Grace, and Sarah, who make this all happen brilliantly every week. To everyone who's watching, you know the drill. As always, with our love, stay safe, stay strong, stay healthy, stay happy, stay hopeful, and keep your hands clean. Demian, over to you to close.
I think today's episode was about well-being and wellness, and I just wish everybody a wonderful week of health and feeling strong in yourselves. I'm very uplifted from talking with Susie, and I hope everybody else is as well. And that's it. Have a great week. See you in 2 weeks live, and see you next week for Rise in Practice.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Bye, Anita.